final resolution or clarification of a dramatic or narrative plot.
Or something.
Grammarian also takes into account words possibly misused, or an ah counter goes hand in hand with the grammarian. Typically, grammarian's role to count the ahs, and make sure that everyone's using the correct terminology.
Good, very good, thank you. And we have, John is going to be doing our table topics. Could you explain for us what table topics are?
Yes. What I'll be doing is choosing topics from our canned resource of topics here that we have. Not real interesting, but I scrolled through here and grabbed a few of them that I don't think we have done in the past. I think it might be time to update our list, actually. But
Yes.
anyway, what I'll do is get up there and ask the question, and somebody has the opportunity, anybody has the opportunity to step forward and spend a minute or two just going over that topic.
Okay, very good. And our timer. Cheyenne, could you explain to us what a timer does?
Yes, so I will be keeping track of the time of the speeches, and depending on which speech you are on, I will give you the green when you have passed the time, the minimum amount of time, yellow as a warning, and red to stop. And just for table topics, so you know, you will get the green at 1 minute and then the red at 2 minutes.
Okay, very good. And then Maurice is going to be our evaluator for this evening. So could you explain how an evaluator works here?
Yes, as the general evaluator, I will give a general evaluation of the meeting as a whole, and as a speech evaluator, I will evaluate the speaker using the evaluation form from Pathways, since this is a Pathways speech. And then I'll also introduce the grammarian and the timer for them to do their reports. And that's it.
Okay, very good, very good. So now, let us move into our educational portion of this evening, which is the opportunity for someone to give a speech that gets evaluated so that they can improve their communications ability, because we all know that the key to good leadership is communication. So I'd like to introduce our first speaker for this evening. Our first speaker is a professional mariner by trade. He has been in Toastmasters since well into the last century, although he did take a hiatus at one point while he was working offshore. He is currently going to be doing a motivational strategy speech on researching and presenting, and the name of the speech is It's Getting Hot? I'd like to introduce our speaker, Lawrence Crompton. Thank you very much. Have you heard all the rumors? We're destroying the planet. The 1% is sucking the lifeblood out of everybody around. All of your Democrats are a bunch of leftists, and all of the Republicans are a bunch of racist whatever. You know, I've heard all those rumors and many more, but I don't believe them. Now, I think, fellow Toastmasters and guests, that we're in a very dangerous time right now where the truth and doublespeak are becoming so intertwined that it becomes very difficult to know what is real and what is not. Now, I do have to admit that I am a science denier, and I'm quite proud of it. So my personal philosophy is trust, but verify. And so anything that somebody tells me or that I read, I'm going to, if I'm interested enough in it, I'm going to research it to find out where they came up with this information and why do they think that it's true. Now, I don't know who said it. I tried to find out, but I couldn't find who exactly said it. But there was a scientist not too long ago that had a quote similar to, "Any scientist that is worth his salt does not believe that anything is true." And the reason is because every time you have something that comes up and it becomes the truth, well, eventually down the road they find out that there's something else that they didn't quite know about before that makes that truth maybe not the complete truth. And so that is why I like to be considered as a science denier, so that I can really feel like I'm looking for the truth. I'm not professing to have found it. Now, one of the interesting things that I want to use as an example of this doublespeak and the difficulty in finding the truth of the matter is global warming. Now, there is a consensus at the moment that there is anthropogenic climate change, which basically means that it's caused by humans. Now, me personally, I have a bend towards environmentalism, but I'm really disappointed with the environmental movement because they have latched on to global warming, let's say global climate change, or human-caused global climate change, as a key point in the environmental movement. And I think this is a big mistake, a very big mistake, because I think that they are actually losing credibility because of that one issue more than any other issue that environmentalists deal with. And why do I say that? Because when you talk about science, or if you hear about global warming, you'll hear the term that 97% of all scientists believe in anthropogenic climate change caused by man. Now, I went back and I looked it up. Where did they come up with this number? And this is quite interesting. Scientific American actually wrote an article that explains how this happened. Now, what this article states is, and I don't have the names right handy, but I do have a list if anyone wants to look up the references. But a group of scientists went through and they examined 4,014 abstracts on climate change. Now, their quote was, 97.2% of the papers assume humans play a role in global warming. Now, the problem is, when the news got a hold of this, it all of a sudden came out as 97% of all scientists believe in global warming. Now, 97% of all scientists agree humans are causing global warming. That's what your news media is trying to convince you. So this is the consensus amongst many scientists nowadays, that because so many people have said it's true, it's got to be true. But let's look back in history a little bit. You know, it really wasn't that long ago that the scientific consensus was that the world is flat and the universe circles around it. And anybody who didn't believe that was a heretic. That can't be possibly true, and, you know, burn them at the stake. Well, this seems to be what they are doing now also. Anyone who tries to come up with a decent conversation about global warming that may question how much humans are involved in it, they are immediately proclaimed to be heretics. They're science deniers. And you can't trust them. Now, where does all this stuff come from? I personally believe every scientist should be a science denier. Now, if you look at what the scientists are using as a model, it's really interesting. The model they use is called magic. I'm not making this up. That's what they call it, magic. A model for assessment of greenhouse gas-induced climate change. It's magic. Now, the problem with this particular model is numerous peer-reviewed studies have shown it to be extremely inaccurate. One of which was the revised 21st century temperature projections by Patrick Michaels and various others from many different universities. And they said to replicate the higher temperatures resulting from the magic model, we altered climate sensitivity. So they had to change the way this climate reacts to the various different effects that man-made input in order to get the results that magic says. Another one, which is modeling climate effects of anthropogenic carbon dioxide emissions, unknowns and uncertainties by Willie Soon and many others. It says, they conclude that the incautious use of global climate models to make future climate projections from incomplete or unknown forcing scenarios is anti-ethical. Such uncritical application of climate models has led the commonly held but erroneous impression that modeling has proven the hypothesis that CO2 added to the air has or will cause global warming. Now they also say they does not disprove that humans are involved in it, but it doesn't prove it either. What I really honestly believe is every person needs to be an environmental activist. We're here on this beautiful blue marble floating through space, and we're the stewards of this marble. We have to make sure that this place stays in a healthy way for all of the creatures to be able to live. But if we focus on a dubious or questionable theory as environmentalists, we are going to alienate many people. So what we need to do is we need to focus on things that can really make changes right now. Things that can be used to bring more people into the fold of environmentalism, because then, and only then, can we bring our world into a final conclusion, the denomu of peace and harmony. Mr. Toastmaster, thank you very much. All right, so that was our very interesting speech. Kind of hard to rate my own speech from, you're supposed to seguin into something here, but anyway, so we'll just move on. And we don't have a second speaker, so I'm going to have to relinquish the lectern to our topic master. John Murphy, our topic master, has been with Toastmasters for 6 months, 8 months, a year?
March.
Since March? No, yeah, close to 6 months. We'll call it 6 months. Anyways, so he's been with us for about 6 months, and he's doing very well, moving forward, and we're really looking forward to hear his table topics. Mr. Topic Master, John.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. This evening, I'm going to, like I mentioned earlier, present a topic. I have several here that I've selected from our list, allowing anyone to step forward and speak to this topic. The first one that I've chosen, randomly I might add, what specific character trait do you want to be known for? Cheyenne.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, I've been asked what character trait that I would like to be known for, and off the top of my head, one thing that I think I would like to be known for is my ability to be in a situation that may be difficult and come out of it positively and with an attitude of being willing to learn something from it and to share with others. I find that it's more difficult to go through something when you clam up and you don't share with others. It makes you feel isolated and alienated. So one thing that I want to take time and practice, because you have to practice and make an effort, is to have the character of resilience and strength to face whatever may happen. I also want to be known for someone who is encouraging to others, and sometimes people don't volunteer other things that they've been through, but just opening up and being willing to share may make someone else more comfortable to open up and share as well. That is what I would like to be known for. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Very good. Moving right along, the second one that I've chosen. What job would you never do, no matter how much they pay you for it?
So many.
Lawrence?
Fellow Toastmasters, there's not a whole lot of things that you could possibly do that I haven't probably had my finger in at one point or another. I've done many different things in my life, but the one job that I don't think that I would ever want to do, although I highly respect anybody that does it, and that would be to be a mother. I don't think I would like to be a mother at all. I watched my wife go through childbirth 4 times. And I don't think that, I don't know where they get the idea that women are the weaker sex. Because if you ever saw somebody go through childbirth, there is no way that someone who is weak could survive through many hours of suffering to give birth to a child and then still be able to absolutely love that child beyond anything anybody else could imagine. It's an absolutely amazing thing, but I just don't think that I would enjoy having to live a entire 20 years of my life supporting a child that I had given birth to. Mr. Toastmaster, or topic.
Thank you very much. Couldn't agree more on that one. All right. When did you first realize that life was short? Oh. Very much.
When did I realize that life is short? I realized when I was 19, which I am 19. So there was a lot of things that we look upon, like grandparents, uncles, parents, because how life is short is that we want to live each day as is the last. Because if we do that, it's a way of us to be someone who you want to be, and you have to put into the effort to do what you want to do, and you want to decide what you want to do, like for the rest of your life, like in my shoes, because you know now it's a good way to plan it out when you're my age, so when you're older it'll be easier to actually attain it. So what I'm trying to say is that life is short, and we got to honor what we have right now, like our parents, our uncles, and grandparents, because every day the truth is that people die. People die every single day and every single second, maybe. But we just gotta realize that our life could be in the balance, and we could be next. So what you want to do is to give your best every single day, and do not back down from the fight that is not even started yet. Because if you keep at it, it'll help us to succeed and honor our respects and actually attain our goals. So if we try to take that information and make that into our daily law, it'll give us a sense of why we are where we are right now. Thank you.
Very good. That's the name of this coffee shop, right? Carpe Diem. Seize the day.
Seize the day. Where's the coffee?
Yes, coffee house. All right. Next one on the list, I'm assuming we have time for that one. What's one downside of the modern day world?
There are probably many downsides to the modern day world, but I would think one that I have just on the top of my head would be being so busy. I believe that we're all very busy, and that we don't give our top selves time to think, to actually sit and ponder some of life's greatest questions and mysteries. I believe that we keep ourselves so busy running and doing and trying to accomplish things that we neglect some of the finer points of life that make us human. We probably should take the time to sit down and just reflect on our existence every day, and why we can breathe, and why we have good relationships. Hopefully many of us do have good relationships, because I think that those kinds of things are the things that what life is made of. Thank you.
I think all seize the day, you forget to seize the day.
Yeah.
All right. Is there such a thing as perfect?
Yeah, it's a little more, oh, remember who hasn't. Is there a such thing as perfect? Is the question that has been posed to me. In human terms and mechanical terms, I would say no. But in intangible things such as love and peace and harmony, I would venture to say you can get closer to perfect in those areas. And when you talk about the Bible or Christianity, in our own human strength, no, we are not perfect, but with the guidance of God working in us as we allow Him to work in us, yes, we can become perfect. And Mr. Toastmaster.
How are we doing on time?
I think it's about time to jump into the next adventure.
Okay. So with that, I will conclude our table topics. Next up is Toastmasters.
I agree. I think we need to maybe start looking into getting a new list. But actually, that list is not really there to be used for table topics every time. The ideal would be to try to create a table topics that's a little bit more exciting and maybe themed or something like that. Maybe as a VPE, the Vice President of Education, maybe I should start theming a meeting. So doing our meetings by a theme so that we can have, maybe table topics. And what was this week? This week there was some interesting days this week, like National Coffee Day or something. But anyways, so the next exciting adventure is going to be the evaluation portion. The evaluation portion of our meeting is where we get an opportunity to learn not only from our mistakes, but learn what we have done well in such a way that we can continue to improve ourselves in every way possible and become better communicators, better leaders, and just better all-around persons. So I would like to introduce our general evaluator. Our general evaluator, Maurice, has been with Toastmasters for a number of years now. He's working hard towards his distinguished Toastmaster. Won't be long. We'll have a couple of distinguished Toastmasters in this club, and hopefully that will help to inspire more people to work hard towards that goal. So I would like to introduce our general evaluator, Mr. Maurice.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, first I will go over the general evaluation for the meeting. The meeting started on time. We did have a 5-minute recess, and then when we resumed the meeting, we went over a little bit of club business. And then from there, we flowed into the meeting. And we had a great speech from Lawrence, which I will be doing an evaluation for. And that is a general evaluation for the meeting. Now, to the evaluation of Lawrence's speech. It was from the pathways, it was from the path, motivational strategies. Number 4, researching and presenting. The title of his speech was It's Getting Hot. And I'll just go over some of the ratings with comments. Clarity, I gave it a 5, and the comment was maintain clear and loud speaking voice, vocal variety 5, use dramatic vocal change with each different point. I try to find a better word than different, but that's eye contact 5, maintain good eye contact with the audience. Gestures, use good hand gestures and body movement. Audience awareness, the audience was aware of the topic, in my opinion, to some degree. Maybe not to the degree of a scientist or whoever calls themselves experts on the topic, but I'm sure that the audience was aware of the topic and the debates on the topic. Comfort level, the speaker was relaxed and comfortable with the audience. Interest, the audience, I feel, was interested in the topic. Well researched. He cited references from his research during the speech. He excelled at having thoroughly researched the topic. He gained interest of the audience with keywords and terms. And I think that's one of the points where he gained the most attention from the audience was through some of these keywords and terms. You may want to work on better hand gestures during some points of the speech. And I didn't have any points under to challenge yourself. That is my general evaluation. That is my evaluation of Lawrence's speech. At this time, we'll go over the timer's report, and Cheyenne will give the timer's report.
So our first speaker, Lawrence, it was 10 minutes and 40 seconds. And for our table topics, but it was so interesting. I wish you could have gone on longer. But anyway, so the table topics, mine was 1 minute and 16 seconds. Lawrence was 1 minute and 19 seconds. Donovan, you were at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Susan, you're at 1 minute and 15 seconds. And Maurice, you're at 1 minute and 11 seconds. I wasn't sure if the general evaluation was timed, but that was 34 seconds. And then the evaluation of the speech was 2 minutes and 27 seconds.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll have the grammarian's report from Susan.
Well, unfortunately, the grammarian or the all counter forgot that she was counting Oz until late into the meeting. And
You missed mine.
and so basically you all did very well. I know I said ah. I'm pretty sure I said ah.
And so we went over the evaluation of the speech, the timer's report, the grammarian's report. And that will conclude the general evaluation of the meeting, and I will relinquish the lectern back to the Toastmasters.
Thank you. Yes, with a small crowd, we also have the opportunity to have small meetings, I guess. Do you have anything that you would like to give as Mr. Area, whatever you are? Do you have anything you would like to give as an educational overview, or does anyone have something that they would like to know about as an educational overview? We'll leave it open to the masses.
I do have a question.
I have
Somebody
answers.
mentioned 2 weeks ago, I believe. You said they were adding some new pathways. Do
Yes.
you know when that might happen?
No. They were talking about the possibility of having 2 new paths by the end of this year, but that's talk.
Okay.
I have not heard a real solid confirmation from Toastmasters that that is going to happen. So I'm really hoping it's going to happen. I actually did I ever give you my email? I don't know if I gave you my email. I don't think I got an email from you this week, so I missed it.
You sent me the breakdown of each one before I picked mine.
Okay, because, yes, I would very much like to get involved with the comedy thing that you're working with, so. Is there anything else that anyone would like to have some information on before we break up the meeting? Maurice, do you have any?
Just one thing for those who wrote names on the Distinguished Club Goals list. If you don't agree with the dates, you can mark it up, the goal dates. I just put, people who have done speeches and who are on their way to achieving goals. I didn't go up to level 5. I mean, unless you're ambitious enough to want to go to level 5.
Not this year.
Okay.
I don't think I'll
Or
get
4,
there this year.
or level 4. I just put levels 1 through 3 on pathways.
I'll be lucky to get through level 2 this year, this fiscal year.
Yeah. So again,
I have to.
and I emailed. Well, I didn't email Cheyenne. I could send you the email if you want to look at it through the email. But I just went up to level 3 on the pathways max. That's 11 or 12 speeches by June 30th, 2019.
11 or 12?
Well, some have. What I heard was some level 1 may have 4, level 2 may have 4, and then level 3 may have 3.
For what? For what?
The pathways. I mean, it depends on each. It depends on the path. Some, like level 1 may have 4 speeches. Level 2 may
Yeah.
have 3 or 4.
Level 1 always has 4.
Okay.
You have your icebreaker, and then you give a general speech, and then you get it evaluated, and then you give theoretically the best way, the suggested way, is to do the same speech over again with the same evaluator, so that you use what you had been evaluated to improve that speech. So you get to give the same speech twice. So that makes it easy because you only have to edit it the second time around. I haven't done that yet, but that's my next group of speeches. And then you have the research, which is the one I did. And then those 4, and you'll be done with path 1 or level 1 of whatever path you're in. And then the second level changes depending on the path you're in. You start getting a little bit more leadership type things in there. Not quite the same as your Competent Leader magazine book that we used to get, but you still have some different things where you may have to work together with someone and things and so on. But they do start picking those things up as you move higher up in the numbers. Once you get to level 3, that's when you start getting electives, where you have a whole list of things that they recommend, and you choose 1, 2, or 3 of them depending on what different path you're in. It might be 1, might be 2, or might be 3. Which path and which level. So 3, 4, and 5 all have electives in there. And there are some, I forget the number of electives, but a lot of your paths have the same electives. And then there's a few electives that are specifically for certain paths. Now, if you go into the dynamic speaker path, you have almost no leadership stuff at all. It's speeches all the way through. You're doing like 20 some odd speeches or 30 some odd speeches in that path. And you're starting to do professional speeches where 10 and 15 minute speeches. So it does get a little bit more intense in that one if you do that. But it also teaches you things like how to set up your stage, how to set up sound equipment if you need it, or audio visual, your PowerPoints and various different things like that. And then also blogging and such, because if you're going to be a professional speaker, you have to get your name out. And so blogging and all that kind of thing are what you want to do for that.
Okay.
Anything else that we want to go over before we finish up?
Okay.
Did anybody, is anybody having any issues with pathways? There's some, internationally, there are some issues that people bring up about they're navigating in pathways, and I just want to make sure if you guys got in there that you're not having any issues at the moment.
Okay, a couple questions. I did upload my evaluation,
Right?
so you be able to see it, or do you?
No,
Okay, it's just in there then.
it's just in there.
Okay. Okay.
Now, this is one of the things that a lot of people have talked about. Now, did you uploaded it into your
the document
documents file?
Yes.
Yeah. This is one of the things that many people are talking about, is that realistically speaking, Pathways has no internal method of tracking anything.
Okay.
So you do it, and you tell the VPE, "Oh, I did it," and then he has to, trust you that you did, or have seen you do whatever it is. Now we use Easy Speak. Some other groups use another thing that's called Free Toast Host, and those keep track of the speeches. So the VPE can go in there and look. Like I can get in there and I can look at any of your history and find out what speeches you've done since the day you got on Easy Speak. And so that way, if you tell me, "Oh, I'm done with this level," I can go back in and look. Okay, did that speech, they did that speech, they did that speech. Now all the other stuff, I have to trust that you did it, because if you have to, another thing you have to do in the first path is do an evaluation for somebody else. So,
That's the question I have.
yeah,
I think I emailed you a while ago about those I did 2 evaluations.
right?
And I gave you one of them, I think. I think I may have attached the one for Cody that I did.
Okay,
And then the other one I did for Heather, but she didn't have her book. So I just took my own scribbled notes and gave the evaluation verbally, but never did get Heather's book to fill out for her.
okay,
So, I mean, I've done 2 evaluations, but I only
Yeah.
have written evidence of one.
yeah. But I can look on Easy Speak and see that you've done it.
Okay, would you mind doing that?
I can do that.
Okay.
Why?
Okay. Well,
Well, I want to make sure that I'm getting credit for it.
Yeah, it'll be on Easy Speak. I will look it up, and in fact, I can look it up right now if you want. Anyways,
That's okay.
so I'll look it up as soon as the meeting's over.
Okay.
Is there anything else that we want to?
one more question on pathways. So if I'm done with the speech, I just have to mark myself complete, and then it'll go, because
That's correct.
I can't get to the next one, I guess.
You
So.
can't get to the next one until you mark it complete.
Okay. Okay.
And so then you mark it complete, it's done, it opens up the next one. And so realistically speaking, somebody could just go through and say complete, 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 all the way through the whole thing. And as far as Pathways would know, you've done everything that's in there. And then it's up to the VPE to verify all that and send notification to Toastmasters that you have completed.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
Okay, so if there is nothing else for the good of the meeting, I would like to relinquish the lectern back to our area representative. And
And
toast.
if there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.
Okay, let's go back. Okay, easy speed. And